Hello and welcome to the bus home for FC Kairat Almaty 0, Celtic 0. Kairat Almaty progressed to the Champions League on penalty kicks. I am joined by Phil McGinley, the main man on the bus home. This is your bus home on the Boys in the Bus podcast. If you like what you get from us, give us a like, give us a share, show us you care. If you want to be notified when we go live, hit that bell. And if you even want to be a member, get yourself a lovely Celtic scarf and help keep the diesel in the bus, then you can do so from $1.99 a month. We are here to discuss Celtic's collapse in the Champions League against the worst team who have ever played in the Champions League, the worst team who will ever be in the group stages, which takes some going when you consider the Rangers team of a couple of seasons ago. This team will get 0 points in the group stages, but do you know what? My thoughts, Phil, slap it right up you Celtic. You got everything you fucking deserved. Rotten to the core, from the top of the club to the bottom. You got what you deserved. Hell, slap it up you. That's my opening gambit. How do you feel?
Pretty much the same, mate. It's one of those things, if you fail to prepare, then you better prepare to fail. And again, how many of us could see it all coming down the track, really, with just the lack of investment. I talked about it last night with Conor and Pam. You go back to March against Bayern. You look at that performance and surely the hierarchy of the club look at it and think, we're only a few decent investments away from being able to take a serious scalp, and knowing fine well, we're going to have a guaranteed Champions League qualifier coming up in the summer. And it's just, again, are we even surprised? Say a bit of PTSD definitely kicked in for a few of us because we've had, results in the past at this stage, against teams with a portion of our budget and whatnot. And we've came a cropper, and it will be Europa League football. It will be Thursday, Sundays for the foreseeable going into this season.
Yeah, just looking at the comments coming through. So there seems to be a bit of a mix, Phil, between the manager, the players, the board, the whole thing. For me, it's just a complete joined up. The whole thing's just rotten from top to bottom. And if we got through this tonight, and to be honest, I genuinely expected we would get it through, because as I've said before, that is the worst team that I've ever seen in the Champions League. And I thought by hook or by crook we would get it done. I thought we would then have a sort of grace period of the next 6 days to get reinforcements in. By the time the group stage starts up, we might be in a much better position. But do you know what? We got what we deserved. We didn't lose the game on penalties. We allowed it to go to penalties. Yeah. If that was the first leg tonight and we'd played that game out with absolutely 0 chances at either end, we would have said that was an excellent away performance in a very, very difficult environment. And you would have then expected to go home and win by 3, 4, 5, as we did expect to happen last week. But the upshot is we didn't get the job done last week, and tonight's result, as good as that would have been, and you've got to remember, the 0-0 draw is as good a result as any Scottish team, including the national team, have had in Kazakhstan, because no Scottish team has ever gone there and won. So why we thought we were going to go there and win, I don't know. But if that was the first leg, you'd be sitting here pretty going, yeah, do you know what? Happy days. we're going through. We didn't get it done. We didn't look at getting it done. Over the goalkeeper tonight. The goalkeeper tonight was the second choice goalkeeper, and we didn't ask one question of him. I think other than James Forrest's effort in the first leg, which the keeper tipped onto the post, and the powdered puff Maida effort, I don't think either of the two goalkeepers for Kairat Almaty had anything to do. We were absolutely dreadful across the two legs. And do you know what? It just represents the lethargy and the complacency that has rotted through this club all summer. I get comments, manager, players. Yeah, do you know what? All of that is totally valid. Other comments are around the club. The whole thing's valid. The whole thing's valid. And do you know what? See all the Rangers fans that are in there? I can't blame you one bit for coming on, because Celtic fans go onto the Rangers pods and they laugh their heads off at what Russell Martin and Rangers have served up this season, what Philip Clement, Mickey Bale, Giovanni, all the rest have all served up. The Celtic fans go onto the Rangers pods and they laugh their heads off. Do you know what, guys? You're more than welcome on here. As long as you behave yourself, as long as there's nothing that isn't acceptable, we are happy for you to be on here and laugh at us, because do you know what? We absolutely fucking deserve it. So if you behave and you're on, feel free to like, feel free to share, feel free to even subscribe if you want. I'd imagine if you've got $1.99 free, you'd be giving it to your own club. But if you've got $1.99 free and you want to sit and laugh at me after shit Celtic performances, I would join up, because I think you're going to see quite a lot of those over the season. So behave yourselves and you're more than welcome.
Oh, dearie me. So how should we tackle this, Terry? Because it wasn't exactly a game that was bereft of moments. I know we always like to go through the moments in the game.
Let's go to the starting lineup, Phil. So since you've given me the keys, I've started doing this wee thing, and I'm actually quite proud of myself here. I know you gave me I know we had that big disciplinary meeting last week about the show and all that. And
there was no such disciplinary meeting at all.
I think we need to be completely clear with everybody here. This is now a live audit. Phil's actually now on here to see if I'm allowed to do.
I should have put a fluorescent jacket on, like I'm doing your test here. You know, I'm sitting with a checkboard, just making sure you get through everything. I should have done that. Right. No, you go. I've noticed you've been bringing up the lineup, so I go ahead. That's how you look at it. Yes.
Let's go. I was surprised, and the reason I was surprised was I thought the back four would be what it was. I thought Engels would play in the midfield three, and I thought Negron would play on the right. I thought Maida would play through the middle, but I thought either one of Forrest or Yang would make way for Engels to solidify the midfield and really strengthen that area, and then hope to kind of get it done with Negron's guile, Engels' set-piece delivery, which, by the way, when he did come on, was absolutely shocking, Dyson's pace, and either a bit of guile from Forrest or Yang. So much in the way of what I was expecting. I would have thought Engels on and either Forrest or Yang off. What were you expecting? Mate?
Yeah, that team that we fielded tonight was pretty much what I thought it would be. Ida might have started, but again with the injury that we heard that he had, even though he did travel with the squad, it was like, well, okay, Maida through the middle, but no, nothing really surprised me there about the starting 11 tonight. It was realistically with what was available to him, it probably was the strongest goal. If he wants to stick to his system, his formation, and we've discussed that in recent shows about, is it time to change things up, change the shape, maybe find a formation that suits what you've actually got available? But I think pre-season would have been the time to do that, to experiment with other systems. He was always going to play 4-3-3, and that's how he was going to go. So nothing surprised me about that lineup at all, Terry.
See, I spoke to David about this a week ago, and briefly with Liam at the weekend there. Whenever we've got no wingers who are in form and we can rely on, I would have piled the midfield. I genuinely would have piled the midfield and tried to get a real stranglehold then. So you could have got away with Maida up top and then just fill the midfield with McGregor, Hatate, Engels, Mackay and Bernardo. You could have all those in there, or Negrin, or a mix of that. Ditch the wingers. And you know what? As much as James Forrest has been a great servant, James Forrest and Yang done fuck all. They done absolutely fuck all tonight. Forrest had an attempt on goal-away header. You could have done without those two because they've not offered anything. They've done absolutely nothing. And my thought process was, if I was picking that team, I'd have filled the midfield and tried to get a real stranglehold, and then just expect it, right, we'll completely nullify them, and we hope to get 2 or 3 chances, and you end up taking one. The upshot is we didn't go with that. We did nullify them because they, as much as I thought last week they played better than I expected them to, tonight I thought they were fucking worse than I was expecting them to. I thought they were absolutely terrible. They're the worst team I've ever seen in the Champions League. And I'll go out on a limb here. They will not get a point. They will not get a point in the Champions League. Not a point. There's not a chance. And Forrest and Yang done absolutely nothing. Not a jot. And I just think we'd have been better served with a couple more midfielders in there. Let the width come from Ralston and from Tierney, and just hope upon hope that you make 2-3 chances. Now, the upshot is we only made 1 chance in the whole game.
Yeah.
And it fell to Dyson Maida. And unfortunately for us and for Dyson Maida, this is this season and this isn't last season. And this season's Dyson is back to the old Dyson before last season's Dyson. And he doesn't fucking score when he's supposed to score. Do you know what I mean?
People are starting to wonder, was last season actually the anomaly for
Yeah,
Dyson Maida? Yeah, they're like, Now, the thing is with the tactics tonight, and I've seen this to my dad while watching the game, is this whole, the horseshoes, Liam always calls it, and he's right to call it that, because at times it does resemble that shape. That playing out from the back is all well and good if the team you're playing against is willing to try and press you, because they come towards you, you lure them in, and then you pass quickly through the lines and get up the park. But this was a team that weren't willing to press us. They were quite happy to let Celtic just have the ball. And a lot of our attacks, if you can even call them that, coming out from the back, were basically, we're not going anywhere, pass it sideways, pass it back the way. Because again, they were not giving up any space. But again, when you're in that position, and you're on the sideline and you're Brendan Rodgers watching that, then surely you have to, like how you're talking about, maybe just a whole change of formation would have done. But again, when you're seeing it happen in real time right in front of your eyes, you should think, right, this isn't working. We need to change up the tact here, maybe long ball. Again, the guy like Dyson Maida up front with the pace that he's got, maybe look for something like that. But instead, it was just rinse and repeat. So just keep on passing out from the back, slow, wait for them to try and, open up a bit of space. But they weren't. They were quite happy. What you're saying is actually, as strange as it is, as bad result it is, in extra time, like there was only one team trying remotely to win it in extra time, and it was us, even though there wasn't much to really talk about other than a Luke McCowan chance that had a wee deflection, which probably did just enough to stop it going in. But yeah, they had no ambition. Once it got to the 90 minutes, they had their eyes on a penalty shootout. Not too dissimilar to Aberdeen in the cup final a couple of months ago as well, when you think about it. And again, we just kept on doing what we were doing. We didn't look to change it up in any way. And yeah, again, with the substitutions, I believe at the start of extra time, I heard the commentator say we've got 3 subs left to take, and I think only McCown and who else came on in extra time was I feel like we only used 2, and I was wondering if one, are we going to save one for maybe Sinisalo coming on before the penalty shootout, or could we have done with maybe putting a Yamada on just for the pace up front again, just to try and get in behind, but we didn't utilise that, and yeah, we just ran out of ideas, which is
even then, Phil. That's a load of bollocks. I mean, we shouldn't be thinking about what goalkeeper are you going to put in against the worst team in the fucking history of the Champions League. Let's get the whole thing straight.
We're
sitting here at 269 live, which in the post-match programs. I think that's a record of since we've moved on to the Boys in the Bus for me, certainly. I'm pretty certain at least 50% of those are Rangers supporters. And again, you're more than welcome to sit and laugh because we laugh at yous and we have fucking totally earned any laughter that comes our way.
Terry, what do you make of Alan Robertson's comment? A CCV looks unfit for him. What's your feelings on
well,
that?
Phil, I've been doing a segment here on the post-match, a player watch, and I basically was pulling out 3 players to focus on in terms of their performance. And in the game so far, it was players who we were going to look on from a positive point of view. And then tonight, as the game was going on, I was going to look at players from a negative point of view. And then as the game played out and we got to penalties, I was thinking, right, I'm not going to focus on players. I'm going to focus on figures within the club. But if I was focusing on the players, there was a couple of players I was going to bring up. So I've got key moments here in the game. There fucking wasn't any. There wasn't any other than Maeda's clean through opportunity. There wasn't any key moments. I mean, those two teams could have played until May when the Champions League final takes place, and it would still be 0-0. Do you know what I mean? The teams that are winning the competition, the final was still been happening, and we'd still been 0-0 against this team.
Probably.
No, but listen, over both legs, can you honestly think of any moments of note? You've got 2. You've got Dyson Maeda's chance in the first leg, and you've Dyson Maeda's chance in the second leg. And other than that, there was absolutely nothing. Now, I thought their goalkeeper had a good game at Celtic Park, but this goalkeeper tonight was second choice. He never played in Europe before he came on at Celtic Park with about 15 to go. We never tested him. We have 0 shots on goal other than James Forrest's effort, which the keeper tipped onto the post. I'm not even including Maeda's effort in the first leg because he completely scuffed it. We've had absolutely fuck all on target over 2 legs. Nothing. Nada. Nothing. A young goalkeeper, 21 years of age, inexperienced, never played at this level. We've done absolutely nothing. So, key moments are done. There's none. There's absolutely none. Player watch. Let's touch on a couple of players, and then we'll touch at the other figures upon the club that I think need a bit of scrutiny. So, Carter Vickers is the one that's come up in the comments. I think he's looked slack. If you look back to the first leg, there was the one where he lets the ball run under his foot. There's the exact same thing happens again tonight.
Same thing tonight,
Right. There was a game towards the end of the season, and I was on with Bhoys, and I just threw it in there. It was just a grenade kind of thing in case you need a grenade between me and Bhoys to get things lit up. I just kind of threw one across going, can Carter Vickers be called into question? And Bhoys made a good defence, and 100% that was warranted. But I was just throwing one in there because he'd been slack. Now we've seen him be slack in the home leg. Now we've been him slack in this game. We've often talked, and the nickname is Cameron Carpet Slippers because he's so relaxed. Is he too relaxed? Are we seeing why he's ended up at Celtic, and despite 6-7 loan spells whilst he's been at a Premiership club in England, none of them have decided to keep him? Is there an issue in terms of concentration? And also tonight, and I knew this was going to happen, and we'll go on. This will be the second player watch, which we'll just throw him up there because nobody's beyond scrutiny. What is the fucking problem with Kieran Tierney and playing a full game of football? Yes, against St Mirren, I get it. First game, all of that, 60 minutes, 65, then 70. Then why can he not play 90 minutes? Have we just signed 3/4 of Kieran Tierney, which means he can only play 3/4 of a game? How can a guy of that level, how can he not see himself through for the last 15 minutes? Whereas instead we have to put a young kid on who's only breaking into the team. And then you see the same situation where Dane Murray, has to go onto his wrong side to accommodate Cameron Carter-Vickers, who can't be moved from the right-hand side. So all that together, Carter-Vickers, where are we at with him?
I mean, on ability, he is still the best defender of the club. But I've seen a lot of people making this point. Is a few members of this team maybe past their cycle now? Because it's been pointed out in some other pods that I've watched that we're still looking at guys that were, signed under the Ange Postecoglou era, and we're having to rely on them. And maybe with Carter Vickers, maybe it is a season too many. He has had a lot of injury problems. Maybe part of that's catching up with him as well. But yeah, he does have a moment, where a wee lapse here and there. And yeah, tonight, I thought that when I saw that one in it was the first half it happened. It was, wasn't it, in the first half where he just let it slip under his foot. And then he's on the sort of he did recover, to be fair. But yeah, there is definitely some questions on that one. In regards to Kieran Tierney as well, I get it. Obviously, the boy hasn't played a lot of football at times, but I will be interested to see with the Scotland national games coming up if he'll end up playing a full game there. Because I'm pretty sure when he has turned out for Scotland in recent times, I don't think Steve Clarke subs him off. He usually plays the full game or plays maybe close to a full game, so it will be interesting to see that one. But yeah, as you say, nobody's beyond criticism tonight, and yeah, everybody has to take part of the blame from the board right down to all the players. It was just such a inept performance, it really was. And after the result last week at home, I was worried initially when I saw the way the draw came out, because I assumed, Terry, that because we were a seeded team, that you automatically get it the other way around, where the away game comes first and then you get your home game. That's how I thought it worked, because that's part of the advantage of being a seeded team, apparently. But no, the rules have changed somewhere along the line, and it just gets drawn how it gets drawn. So when I did see it was all the way around, I did have that sort of, oh no, I'm a wee bit uneasy about this. And it wasn't even anything to do with the travel. It was just it's just an awkward place. There's going to be awkward conditions with a slightly bumpy pitch and whatnot. But again, you need to adapt to these things. You need to... Again, we were still doing the little passing sideways moves. And again, it's like, well, the surface does not lend itself to that type of play. So again, you look at the manager, where it's like, you're seeing this happen in front of your own eyes in real time. Surely you must have another plan up your sleeve. But again, it was just a case of just keep doing plan A and just try and do it better. That was the plan.
Phil, I'll take that from a different angle. I thought getting the home game first in this tie was an advantage, because as with many, many Celtic supporters, and I'm sure you yourself, I thought this was an opportunity to get the tie done in the first game. And then you go away to a very difficult situation, but you've got 2-3 goal lead in the background. Now, as things transpire, that's not how it worked out, but I was still comfortable getting tonight's game, knowing that despite the fact we've been to Kazakhstan 3 times and we've not got a victory, in none of those 3 times did we have to go there and win the game. Whereas tonight we did have to go there and win the game. And it's a different mindset. But I didn't see that in our play. I didn't see that urgency and intensity where we had to go there and win the match. And I totally get that it was very, very difficult circumstances with the travel, the heat, all the rest. Nobody goes there and wins easily. But I've been at pains to say over the last 2 weeks, not only did that team come to Celtic Park a week ago and get the job done, they were also in Europe the week before and got the job done against Bratislava. They made that journey that we've made. They made that journey, played the game against Bratislava, went home, played a league game, back on their plane and done the same thing again and came over and got the job done against us. So don't give me any of that bollocks about fucking travelling all that distance. They done it twice and it was 6 days, because I'm pretty certain they played on the Wednesday and then they came, it's 6 or 7, whatever it was, between the Tuesday and the Wednesday. But they done it twice in a week. So don't give me any of that shit about the journey and all that bollocks, because they done it and they were able to get it done.
Well, interesting enough, Brendan Rodgers did say in the presser yesterday before the game that there is no excuse. He's not going to use that as any sort of excuse. So apparently that won't be wheeled out, so we can scrub that off. I wonder what the reasons are. Then if that's not going to be one, so well, I don't know. I didn't want to hear what they've got to say, to be
Well,
honest.
the excuse is we just weren't fucking good enough. We weren't well enough prepared. We weren't good enough to get the job done. I mean, at the end of the day, all we had to do over 180 minutes was score one goal, and we didn't look like doing that. As I say, we could play to the Champions League final in that, and we wouldn't have scored against that team. Not a chance. And we had the best two chances of the tie. Maeda cleaned through twice, and Dyson of this season isn't Dyson of last season.
Definitely
for whatever reason.
Did you see the what was I going to say about the presser yesterday as well? Just in general, where say there was a comment about the travel. You know, I won't use that as an excuse, but something else in the presser as well that came up that I found really interesting. It'll come back to me at some point because something just came in my head there about there was a line that he threw out in the presser. That was it. He was asked about the Kairat manager apparently had said after last week, he felt Celtic underestimated them, and of course Brendan was like, "Oh no, we show everybody respect," which is the type of line you would expect to throw. Do you think Brendan underestimated them overall?
I'm not sure because he is very, very meticulous. I think the club underestimated it. Yeah. He's implicit in that because he's part of the club as much as he probably feels he's on a separate island, which is linked to the club geographically, but nothing else. I think the club have underestimated this team. I think the club have underestimated the actual qualification process. I think the club have underestimated the challenge of being successful in the SPL. I think the club have underestimated absolutely everything by the behaviour from the end of last season to the start of this season. Now, I think that let's just bring up another picture here, which isn't going to be a key player watch, but it's going to be a few individuals. This is the most posed photograph you will ever see in your puff. With nearly 400 on live here, I reckon 381 of those are Rangers fans, and there's one Celtic fan still on listening.
Must be looking at the comments. There's a lot of Celtic fans coming here to vent, and I don't blame them, to be honest.
These are the most fake smiles you've ever seen.
Yeah, I remember that picture now. Yeah, I remember
Look at the state of this. This is just fucking. This is just a joke, an absolute joke. That's not what it's like in real life. Dermot Desmond brought in Brendan Rodgers. He told Peter Lowell and Michael Nicholson that it was happening and you needed to play nice. And for the first couple of months, they played along. They went out there to Mallorca. They had a few drinks and they told him everything was going to be very different. And we had this photograph and everybody was happy. And then everything just went back to the same as it was, the way it was the last time he was here, and the way it was the reason why he won't be here any longer. Now, one other individual who's implicit in this is this fucking dickhead. Now, he's the one calling the shots. If he's brought in Brendan Rodgers knowing that the guys on the board didn't want him, and he's told them to make it work, there should have been red flags on his radar very, very quickly for him to have to step in and get the whole thing sorted out. I see that moustache that he twirls. I'd love to just jump in there and rip that fucking moustache off him and try to wake him up a bit, because he is the guy that calls the shots here. And he's just sitting back and watching the whole thing completely implode, despite the fact that he's the one that brought everybody together. He brought Rodgers in. He told the board it was happening, and then he just fired it into the cocktail and he fucked off and started playing golf all over fucking Spain and Portugal and wherever else he swings golf clubs. And he's just let it go along, and now it's completely imploded and he's nowhere to be fucking seen. So the player watch isn't on any players. The player watch is on him and it's on Michael Nicholson and Peter Lawwell.
Yeah, during the game tonight, they rattled off some stats. The type of stats where you hear the commentator saying, you're like, oh God, you're just making it worse. Talked about Celtic's record in playoffs at that round. I think it was something like 13 times we've been at that round, and we've won. I think we've lost like 5 of them now or something like that. It was basically obviously quite an abysmal record, and obviously now we're more losses than wins. And then again, just honestly, the just things to just fill you with more and more dread as the night went on. But again, it's like we've heard stories in the past about Dermot Desmond getting annoyed, about feeling embarrassed after a bad result. I remember one in 2016, a very famous one, that apparently he was really annoyed about that, and that was what prompted us to go and get Brendan Rodgers. And it's like, well, again, you look at 3-4 months, or so, in fact, sorry, it was longer than that. 6 months ago, out and playing Munich, you go from that we got so close to like taking a scalp there and having a great result. The common sense, if the board are watching that, think we just need to invest right in the summer, and that's it. Just be ready for it. But it could just be just an arrogance thing, Terry. It has just been, we'll get through. We'll have enough to get through there. We're seeded. What can go on? We've lost games in the past at this round where we've been the seeded team as well. But the teams that have knocked us out at that stage have always been, let's be honest, a lot better than Kairat, teams like Malmo and stuff like that. It's just everybody from top to bottom. But yeah, the board, say we talked about it all summer. Every Celtic pod was talking about it. We're no different from the rest. We've talked about the lack of sort of ambition that they've been showing, and most of us feared that it's going to come home to roost. This whole idea that, we're waiting until we've got Champions League football. And it's like, well, there's no guarantees we're going to get it. But if you at least invest sensibly in the run-up to it, you increase your chances of doing it. They've gambled. I think you brought up this point, and it was actually Steve-O that said it on the Celtic World Order about, they're not taking any risks, but they actually are. They actually are gambling. That was a huge gamble. And the gamble has failed. And now, as I say, it will be Europa League football. And see right now, with the way the state the team is right now, we have to get some investment in for that, because this idea that but we can go on a good run in the Europa League. You've seen some of the teams that are in that. Oh no, with the way our team is right now, there has to be some serious groundwork done between now and Monday night, or else we're going to get tanked in that as well. Because hey, if we are going into the Europa League, I want to make a bit of a fist at it. And I don't want us to be in the bottom 12 and just get eliminated by, Christmas time, January time. So, we'll have to, they have to invest for that as well. We have to make some serious moves there, because right now, this team in any shape to put up a fight in the Europa League neither.
Okay, final warning to Rangers supporters. No problem with you being in the chat. No problem with you making comments. Just play nice. You can have your fun, but anything derogatory or unacceptable, and you will be kicked out. Phil, if I think about what my overriding feeling is about us getting knocked out of the Champions League, it's probably the wrong reasons. The thing that I'm thinking about, because I'm thinking about that missed 40 million. But if I put myself just in my own Celtic fan shoes, that doesn't matter a fuck to me, because if we get through or we don't get through, we as supporters aren't going to see anything different in terms of the team and the pitch. And that's why we're in this position already. Because the way this window's played out, we haven't tooled up to make sure that we got into the Champions League. And we know the players that we've been linked with all summer. We know the players that we were linked with yesterday. We know the players we're going to be linked with tomorrow. And you have this narrative that it depends on whether we get through to the Champions League or not. The names that we're linked with now are the same ones we were linked with 2 months ago, 3 months ago, in some cases 18 months ago. What the fuck's the hold up? Why were these players not brought in? Why are we talking about them before the playoff of the Champions League? Why are we talking about them 6 days before the transfer window closes? I don't see this being groundbreaking in terms of the players that we're going for. I mean, for example, tonight's result doesn't mean Balaguisha's not going to sign for us. Tonight's result doesn't mean Jakob Graham's not going to sign for us. Tonight's result doesn't mean the left back that's just appeared on the list after fucking 3 months is not going to sign for us. It might mean Calvin Stengs decides to go to Italy or not, but that's up to him. But it's not as if it's groundbreaking. This result is going to kill our transfer window. It feels like we're going to get the players we were always going to get from the start of the window, but we've just fucked about the whole summer, and we're getting them when we're out instead of getting them when we had a chance to get them in to make a difference.
Yeah, one of the stories that came out about Balakisha over the last God knows how many bloody months it's been now, it's went forever, was he apparently was wanting to see if we qualified for the Champions League. And it's like, but now the story is it's pretty much a done deal when we hadn't guaranteed it. So then it's like, so that was never a factor in the first place. So what was the hold up? Why did it take so long? I say that was one of the constant narratives that kept coming up. So yeah, this boy is signing for us regardless. So I'd like to hear what their other excuse is for why it took so long. And again, these could be the things in hindsight. They could have been the difference because again, there was no guarantees that we were going to make it, but you can improve your chances by just tooling up correctly and just making sure that we've got the strongest team possible. But again, I just think there has been just gross negligence from the top all the way down, and it's just been started with the board and whatnot with just a sort of arrogance, I guess, just thinking we've got enough to get through this, we'll be fine. And the chickens have come home to roost, and we just need to face the reality now that it will be on Friday. We'll be doing the Europa League draw, and we'll see if we get there. But it's been bizarre. See, when I saw that story about Balakisha that he's going to sign anyway. But so what was the whole for the last few months? Oh, the player wants to commit when they play Champions League football. That's not true at all. No,
he's been signing from the start of the summer. That one was always done. We've talked about it so many times on Bhoys' pod and this pod. That one was happening. Why are we still talking about it on the night we've been knocked out of the Champions League? He's already agreed to come. He's already waved cheerio to his own support. Is he going to turn around? Is he going to turn around next week and go, "Oh, sorry about that, I'm back"? Celtic got knocked out against the worst team in the Champions League. I can't fucking see it. Why was he not here trying to help us get through? Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's on him. I'm saying it's on our board. Like this was a golden ticket. Do you know what I mean? Like, look at all the draws you could have got. This was the golden ticket, and we got it, and we've absolutely blew it. And part of me, a big part of me, it's just that initial reaction I gave at the start of the pod. It comes back to the same thing. It's slap it up, you Celtic. You fucking deserve it. You do this all the time. This is on you. This is on you as a club. This is because of the way you do things. And, hell mend you. Like, as supporters, it doesn't really matter to us whether we get Champions League or Europa League. We want the Champions League because we want to be in the Premier competition and we want to go and watch our teams play against the best teams in the world. But in terms of what our board do, it doesn't make any difference. We won't sign any different players now in the last 6 days, whether we get through this tie or not. We will just do the same thing as we always do. We'll scratch around. Look at the players we're targeting. It's players with a year left on their contract or clauses in their contract that allow them to go for less. It's just a millionaire shopping at a fucking car boot sale. It's just so depressing, and it's very, very difficult to try and think as a fan group, what can we do to stop the custodians behaving like this? Because every year comes round and you've got your AGM and they just automatically all get voted through because they've got this position of power. And I've watched some Celtic pods this week and they've floated ideas about how we can make a difference. I find it very, very difficult to see how supporters at this point in our history can actually make a difference. How can we overthrow this board and get people in there who want the best interests of the club? We had Don Mackay come in And in his very, very short space of time that he was there, it felt as if he was starting to push boundaries. But very, very quickly, he was fucked out because the rest of them didn't want anyone pushing boundaries. They didn't want anything to change the status quo. How can we, as supporters, you as a season ticket holder and all the other guys on the bus who are season ticket holders, or the rest of us who are non-season ticket holders but spend our money in different ways, how can we make a fucking difference here? Because these guys have got total control. You've got board members on there, 20, 30 years on the board. How can anyone start to make a difference in that?
Yeah, this is something obviously the last couple of years that, you know, it feels like over the AGM, because it's November, I think, every time the AGM comes around, there is like a sort of, you know, there's always some kind of grumble from the fans, and this year is totally justified. And when November comes, you know, that is their chance at the AGM. But I'm pretty sure there was a story last year about some fans at the AGM did try to really question the board, and surprise, they were asked to leave. They were removed. There was an incident a couple of years ago against Hearts at Celtic Park. Remember, we lost to Kelly and Hearts back to back in the middle of December in Brendan's first season back. And there was an incident where about 10 minutes to go, dreadful performance that day. I think we had a shot on target. There was a fan in the south stand, sits in the back row at the front section of the south stand, stood up on his seat, and he's basically got a clear line of vision right at the Celtic execs all sit at the front of that section, and he was just ladling into Michael Nicholson, just pointing right at him. And the stadium was so quiet because we were stunned that we were 2-0 down at that point, that it was one of those things where you heard the commotion and turned around and saw it, and surprise, along comes the stewards, huckle him out and whatnot. And again, it's like, you guys that are running the club, you can't sit there and look at results like that tonight and just feel like everything's fine and dandy. The balance sheets are fine. You've got to look at the thousands of fans that are putting the time and the effort and the investment into this club. The guys that are putting the money into your pockets. And it's like, they deserve to have the best product on the park to entertain them, and they're not seeing it. It's just not seeing it at all, Terry. And yeah, I say when the AGM comes along in November, that's a chance for shareholders to say. But I say I'm pretty sure there was an incident at last year's AGM that was reported where fans did try to hold the board to accountable to some stuff, and it was a case of no. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was maybe last year or the year before that there was some sort of comment made, and Michael Nicholson's quip was penalty Rangers, and they got a wee laugh in the room. That was like his comeback, and it's like, honestly, so that's what you're up
just
against.
Arrogance.
That's what you're up against.
Total arrogance, Phil. Total arrogance, complacency. Fucking, I heard that comment, and I just goes, do you know what? Fucking, that's just all what you're about. Like, it's just easy laughs. And Scott comes in there. Scott, you're more than welcome. And as I say, the laughs on us tonight, so enjoy it because we totally deserve it.
Well, that's the thing. Just to add on to Scott's comment there, when you got to take the rough with the smooth. You know, we've had plenty of good results in recent times. When you do get a bad result, this is the nature. When you do fan media, you've got to front up and do these post-match shows. People need a place to come and vent and talk about it. So, at the end of the day, we just come on, we do what we do, and well, here we are.
Kieran, I think it's everybody. I think the root cause is the board, because they have just assumed that we would qualify. However, I think you've also got to look at the manager. He should have been able to get the job done with the squad that he had at his disposal against the squad that he was up against. And then ultimately, I think you have to look at the players who, I mean, how many of the Kairat players would get into the Celtic 11? None, absolutely none. So it's all three. It's the whole thing. But with any organisation, if you think about your own job or any company, organisation, business, and let's not be mistaken here. Celtic is a company. It's a business. With any business, the culture starts at the top and it feeds its way down. And if you've got guys like Phil has explained there, like Michael Nicholson getting cheap jokes in at the AGM, that just stinks of complacency and arrogance. And sooner or later, that will filter its way down to the players on the pitch, the guys that are in the front line, and tonight that's manifested in us getting beat by the worst team in the history of the Champions League. So let that sink in. But in answer to your question, Kieran, it's from the top. No one is blameless. Board, manager, players. The only people who aren't blameless is the supporters. And I really, really feel for the guys who made that trek out to there to watch that absolute pish of a performance that they seen tonight as well.
The boy that sits next to me in Celtic Park actually went. He, on an impulse, decided to. He was one of the 400 or so fans that was out there, and God, I feel so bad for him, man. That trek to go out there and to trek all the way back now as well. Depressing, man. But yeah, the guy that literally sits right next to me in Celtic Park went out there. So yeah, sorry about that, Chris. I'm lucky, man.
The only thing, Chris, that I would say is the 40 million, whether we got it or not, we wouldn't have seen that on the pitch.
That's true.
That's the only saving grace. And when I think about it, I'm thinking, we're 40 million worse off. We wouldn't have seen it on the pitch anyway. Ian comes in. How many of the Celtic players went into the Bayern Munich team? On that night, on that performance that night, probably quite a few, because Bayern Munich were off as much as we were on. But yes, if you put the two against each other, very, very few, if any at all. I get that. But that's a different scenario, because Celtic played very, very well against Bayern Munich. Kairat Almaty didn't play very, very well against Celtic. They just played, and there was nothing. There was no resistance against them. It's a completely different argument. I get your point, but we did not put them under anywhere near the pressure that they should have been under. And you'll see it when the group stage. You'll see it when the group stages come round. Somebody will hit that team for close to 10. I'm not joking you. Somebody will hit that team for close to 10. They're fucking useless, and we couldn't do anything against them. Let's get it back onto the structure, Phil. As much as we don't want to, and I haven't even looked into this because I wasn't planning on it. Yep. So what is the situation then for the draw for the Europa League?
Okay, it's on Friday. It's the same format as the Champions League. All three competitions changed to that last season, so there are 36 teams in it. We will get 8 fixtures. We'll get 2 teams from pot 1, 2 teams from pot 2, 2 from pot 3, and 2 from pot 4, same as the Champions League. Last season, 4 home games, 4 away games. Games will run up to January. And yeah, it'll just be a case of get as many points on the board and get through. And I'm pretty sure last year, in the run-up to the Champions League, because it was a new format, a lot of people were predicting it would be 10 points, I think, they got you through. I think in the end, the way it played out is in both the Champions League and the Europa League, it was actually 11 points was the threshold, and we ended on 12. So, again, it's going to be a case of we're going to have to make the home games count for a start. That'll be the first one. But I said earlier on, there's a lot of good teams in that competition. So I've had a look at some of the teams. In pot 1, you have teams like Roma, Porto, Aston Villa, who we encountered last season. Leo, Real Betis.
What part are we likely to be in, Phil?
I think it's 2. But don't quote me on that. But either way, you're going to get 2 teams for pot 1, 2 teams for pot 2, 2 for pot 3, 2 for pot 4. But even in pot 4, VfB Stuttgart for the Bundesliga in pot 4, Celta Vigo from La Liga in pot 4 as well. So there's like teams from the top 5 leagues even in the 4th pot. So yeah, there is some nightmare scenarios. There is a lot of trips to the far reaches of Europe as well, because in the Europa League, obviously, you get a lower quality of opponent in terms of because the Champions League is mostly filled with the big 5. Your English teams, your German teams, Italians, French and Spanish teams, and then of course you'll get your outliers as well. But the Europa League, you've got a wee bit more of a mix. So ideally, from our point of view, if they travel, with being Thursday, Sunday games, you're going to want to try and get for the away games as close as possible. We don't want another trip away to, for example, a Kazakhstan or an Azerbaijan or one of these types of countries. You want to try and hopefully, when the draw comes out, all the away ties we get are all pretty central within you, because the Thursday, Sunday thing's going to kick into effect. And yeah, we're just going to need.
That's a ball like that's a massive ball like, even in terms of you're thinking about the domestic stuff. And I'm very, very selfish sitting here thinking I've booked to come over against Hibs at the end of September, and that's very likely to be changed now to the Sunday, and it just throws everybody's plans up in the air. Do you know what I mean? But it is what it is. So we're in the Europa League. You've kind of gave us an idea. We probably will be in pot 2. That fires us into that Thursday night, Sunday night scenario. This was the only saving grace is that our city rivals Rangers will very, very likely be in the same situation, albeit they have a chance to progress tomorrow night. But that doesn't soften the blow any, because I think given our dominance domestically, we're not measuring ourselves against Rangers any longer. However, as fate would have it, our next fixture is against Rangers.
Yes, it is.
Sunday afternoon. The guys will probably be making their way towards the airport now, I'd imagine. I'd imagine Celtic are trying to get them home as quickly as possible. They'll arrive sometime on Wednesday afternoon, evening, our time. They'll probably have a day off Thursday. They'll be in for a bit of training Friday. They'll do a bit of shape on Saturday. And then we turn up at Ibrox on Sunday, 6 points clear of our city rivals, with a chance to go 9 clear, or giving them the opportunity to claw their way back into the championship race. From my perspective, you couldn't hope for a better game after the disappointment of tonight. I don't buy the travel. I don't buy the disappointment. I don't buy the extra time. I don't buy any of that. That game comes around on Sunday. That's a massive game, and as much as I'm disappointed tonight, when that match comes around, I'll be well up for it. Come Sunday morning, I'll be right up for it. It doesn't matter if we're Champions League, Europa League, or fucking no league.
Right.
That game comes around on Sunday. We've got a massive assignment, and we have to make sure we don't lose that match.
Yeah, well, definitely. And the thing is, it's going to be, obviously, it's played in a complete different. I know a lot of people are down right now, and it's a lot of doom and gloom about what happened, and rightfully so. But the game on Sunday will be played at a completely different pace against a team that, let's be honest, they're not going to sit back with Tim Emil. Their manager's made it very clear how he wants them to play. Now, to be fair, any manager worth their salt, Terry, would look at the performances this season from Celtic against Kairat in both games, Livy in the first half last week, St Mirren on the opening day, and it's like, well, see, if you're just organised and you just sit back against Celtic, you run out of ideas. But of course, the Rangers manager's made it quite clear that he wants his team to play very much passing out from the back, but similar to us in a way, very much about attacking football. So that might be it. It might also be the worst Celtic Rangers game in history as well. The way both teams have been playing at the moment, that could also end up being that. But I'm the same as you. When Sunday comes, I'll be up for it as well. And it's a long, long way to go in the season in terms of domestically. It's only the 4th fixture of the season. So it's like, obviously we're disappointed just now, but, we'll dust ourselves down from this. It's disappointing. The Champions League's obviously the place where you want to be. It's the elite competition. I say there's still a high standard of teams in the Europa League. This is the boy ache of having to do Thursday, Sunday schedules. That is obviously a problem, particularly when you end up getting a Sunday Celtic Park game, 3 o'clock kickoff. They're just some of the worst to get up for. But ultimately, it's still a decent enough competition. I agree with what you said earlier on. I still think the players that we're going to sign, we're always going to sign anyway. I think the Balakisha one is enough proof of that, even though there was stories about he was waiting for Champions League football. No, it was always going to happen, that one. And yes, we just need to face up to what happened tonight and dust ourselves off and go again on Sunday. That's what it is, mate.
So that'll come round on Sunday. That will be enough motivation. Tonight will wear off. Whatever happens tomorrow night in terms of Rangers and Bruges, that'll happen. I fully expect Bruges to go through. They're a class outfit, and they're a role model for a club like Celtic as to how you should behave in the transfer market. You sell your best players for a premium, and you go and spend 50, 60, 70% of that on players to replace those players, and you go through that cycle. You don't bring in 25 million and go and spend 3 and then expect to still get through at Europe's top table. It doesn't work like that. However, transfer window will close. It will slam shut, I believe, next Monday. We've done a bit of business early. The only two real first-team players coming out of that business are Kieran Tierney and Benjamin Negren. The rest are just players that we've brought in to see if they can develop over time. Balaguisha sounds as if he's happening. Why he hasn't happened before now, I don't know. The Uruguayan left back seems pretty close.
Yep.
What else do you expect to be done between now and next Monday?
What I expect to be done? Oh, that's an interesting one. What I expect to be done and what I think should be done are two different things. What I think should be done is we definitely need another forward option through the middle and probably another winger option, because Yang ain't it. Forrest at his age, good servant for the club, but at this stage in 2025, 34-year-old James Forrest shouldn't be getting wheeled out to, try and pull us through these games. So we definitely need that. There's questions over Dyson Maeda right now in terms of what's happening with him in terms of his confidence. Seems to be on the ground right now. So we probably definitely need forward options. In the middle of the park, I genuinely think we're okay there. That's one area where I don't think we need to be shopping in right now. I think we've got enough there. It's not urgent. I mean, obviously it's a bonus if we can get anything else in there, but it's not like a desperate need. And yeah, defensively, we've got this boy coming, Sirachi, I believe it's pronounced, from Boca Juniors. He was sighted in Heathrow tonight. I think there's a video doing the rounds of him in London. So he's flying in there to do his medical, and then he'll fly up to Glasgow, I believe, tomorrow. So that's fine. But I think the right back is obviously a concern, because Tony Ralston tonight, again, no harm to the boy. He gives us all, but in terms of ability, isn't exactly the best. I thought when Donovan came on, he looked all right. There was a nice wee run that he made as well, quite late in extra time, where he went along the byline, cut it back to Reegan, who was quite unlucky not to score. To be fair, the keeper pulled off a good save at his near post. But again, you don't want to rely on B team players at this stage. It's like we don't want. I know Johnson being injured is obviously a problem, but yeah, Ralston I don't think is the answer. So another player who can cover it right back would be ideal at this stage, no doubt about it. So, but what I think will happen, Balkisha and obviously Sirachi will be in. I think there'll be two more, and I think it will be players in the forwards department. Whether they're loans, we'll wait and see. But yeah, I think there'll be between now and then, I'll say 4 would be my prediction.
See, the thing about Ralston is, Phil, this is the reason we carry Anthony Ralston, to fill in when Alistair Johnson isn't available. Alistair Johnson isn't available, and immediately we're then going, we need another right back. So either we do or we don't. We can't say that Ralston is good enough to fill in when Johnson's injured, and then the minute Johnson's injured, going, we need a right back. It's one or the other. If he's good enough, he's good enough. If he's not good enough, he's not good enough. And that's where we're at, kind of thing. And it'll be interesting to see who starts at right back on Sunday, because Ralston probably should have went off earlier tonight than he actually did. And because of the kind of guy that he is, he stayed on and tried to do as much as he could, and then the young kid come on. Now, either way, I'm not bothered if we start with Donovan on Sunday. Then we start with Donovan on Sunday. He's the manager's decided he's the best right back available. But where we're at with the squad is, you think you've got cover, and then the minute you need somebody to come in, you're then going, we don't have enough cover. So in terms of the rest of the window, I don't know. I just don't know. I still think there's a sale to be made. I genuinely do. I still think we could lose one here. I don't want to speculate in terms of who I think it could be, but I think there's a deal to be done for one of our better players. But we'll see how it goes. We shouldn't be in this position. We shouldn't be sitting 6-7 days, trying to work out who's coming in and who's not. We've had our biggest match of the season tonight. We've absolutely fucked it. We've now got our biggest match of the season coming up on Sunday. Let's see how that plays out. We can really lay down a marker in terms of winning the league, or we can open the door to a team that should be absolutely buried. But what I would say is the Celtic board, and I'm looking at Michael Nicholson, because however he's found his way to be CEO, his name is above the door. It's him who's got the title, and the Celtic board have talked about stockpiling this money for a rainy day. So all I would like to say at the end of this pod, on the hour mark, Michael Nicholson, this money's been saved for a rainy day. Let me tell you something, mate. See if you look outside your window now, it's fucking pissing down. It's pissing down round you. So let's see what you've got. That's me done.
That's it. Okay, on that, I guess we'll end it. We've got this. We've got it out of the way, Terry. We've got this therapy session out of the way. So we'll regroup. We'll be back on Friday. I'll be back with Liam. We'll get his take on what happened tonight. I don't imagine it's much better than what we've had to say tonight. I think he'll be in a similar mood. We'll have a reaction to the Europa League draw as well. And, of course, we will look ahead more to the game on Sunday. So, yeah, it is what it is. We just have to dust ourselves off and we go on in the Europa League now. But a lot of people got to be taking the blame for this one tonight. And, yeah, over the next few days, we'll see how all that plays out. But thanks a lot of people for watching tonight. Thanks for jumping on and getting involved with us as well. And, yeah, we shall see you on the next one. Remember to do all that good stuff on the way out. So it'll help us out massively. And yeah, we shall catch you on the next one, guys. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you later. Cheers.